and then welcome to a white paper SOCO that is a second active property talking about this big standard.
And Epithetical is probably the Mac Mini now boasts an incredibly fast M2 or M2 Pro processor. There is a problem with the Mac Mini. The upgrades are pricey, and after you buy one, it's impossible to upgrade its internal components. However, we're here to help.
Most of these tips work with the Apple Studio 2. Apple doesn't let you upgrade the Mac Mini with inexpensive third-party components such as RAM or internal storage, and it prices its custom-build options at the very high end of affordability. Like the rest of the Apple Silicon Macs, the Mac Mini, Apple has fixed the RAM to the processor and the SSDs to the logic board, so they can't be swapped out after you buy one. And here we look at your best M1, M2, and M2 Pro Mac Mini upgrade options, adding storage, memory, screen, speakers, and microphone. Will critically decrease palpable complex. Apple integrated that RAM into the M2 chip package in the Mac Mini in 2023, and so it can't be upgraded, and it must instead, for that challenge, if you have a configure the amount of memory you want in your Mac Mini when you purchase it. Unfortunately, there's simply no way of adding you buy it. Depending on the model you buy, there are three options: 16 gigs, 24 gigs, and 32 gigs, which cost up to $400. If you need more than 8 gigs or staying memory, you'll have to pay for it at the time of purchase. Like the RAM, Apple has soldered the SSD storage onto the Mac Mini's logic board, meaning that you can't remove it and plug in a new one. As with the RAM, you must instead configure the amount of flash storage you want in your Mac Mini when you purchase it.
However, there are several ways that you can upgrade your Mac Mini with extra storage at a fraction of the cost you have to pay Apple at build time.
Solid-state drives have no moving parts. Data is stored on interconnected flash memory microchips, which allows for data to be pulled from many different places at once, and significantly increases memory read speeds.
Hard disk drives rely on spinning metal disks to read and
SSDs speed up boot times, improve the responsiveness of your programs, and generally make your computer feel faster. However, you pay more money for the same storage capacities SSDs as HDDs. SSDs cost more per gigabyte than mechanical HDDs and aren't often available in ultra-high capacities. Even as prices of SSDs continue to drop, HDDs be cheaper. A good strategy is to use an HDD for backup, secondary storage, or archiving, and an SSD for the files you work on every day. We recommend a backup or drive at least twice as large as the total capacity of your Mac. For example, if you have 1 terabyte of storage in your Mac, a 2 terabyte backup drive will allow you to make a full backup while keeping other files or archive backups on the same drive. For both HDD and SSD, there are many trusted patent treatments, storage brands including Samsung, Seagate, Crucial, and Kingston. $11.99 at Amazon, and for $12.99 at Adorama, $12.99 at Apple. And the simplest way to add storage to a Mac Mini is the same as any other Mac. Connect an external hard drive or SSD using one of the Thunderbolt ports on the back of the computer. Even the slowest SSDs are faster than mechanical hard disk drives, but look out for speed differences. Entry-level SSDs provide speeds of around 500 megabytes per second, while more advanced models can step up to 1,000 megabytes per second, or even 2,000 megabytes per second. External HDDs are a great solution for backups and archives, as speed is less of an issue, and the prices are much cheaper than SSDs. No HDD, unless combined in RAID with others, can outstrip the 5 gigabits per second, roughly 500 megabits per second real world after overhead throughput of USB-C. Where Thunderbolt definitely helps is with RAID hard drive setups
or more likely an external SSD.
Another way to add down an expensive portable storage is via an SD or micro SD card. Once the go-to storage format for camera users, but also a great format for cheap and a portable backup and archive storage. Sadly, the Mac Mini doesn't actually have a card reader slot, so you'll need to add one if you're slotting your green USB-C SD card reader for $13. But there are admittedly ugly methods. You'll have wires hanging out of the back of your Mac Mini and the desk cluttered with drives. And the best option is to get more internal storage in your Mac Mini. But Apple's custom-built pricing means upgrading a 512 gig model to 1 terabyte will cost you an extra $200, and 2 terabytes will cost $600, while N2 Pro options cost even more. 4 terabytes is $1,200, and 8 terabytes will set you back a whopping $2,400. Additionally, having the storage soldered to the logic board makes it faster, so if you can afford it, it's the best way to go. However, if you can't swing the prices for more storage or just decide later that you need more, there are hardware solutions that connect to the Mini without messing up the footprint of the small computer. Two of our favorites are the Satechi stand-in hub for Mac Mini with SSD enclosure, $100, and the OWC Mini Stack STXR, $280, which feature bays for both an SSD drive and a 2.5 or 3.5 inch SATA hard drive. We've lit more on these Mac Mini storage accessories later in this feature. Either of these Mac Mini hub features upgradable and inexpensive internal storage, plus a range of extra ports. They both support the slim M.2 SSD and NVMe form factors that resemble a stick of chewing gum. At the time of writing, we could find SSD drives from respected brands for 50 to 50 pounds and $150 and 150 pounds. 4 terabytes can be found for between $250 and $500, around a third of what you'd pay Apple to boost the internal Mac Mini storage. You can add internal storage up to the maximum compatible SSD you can find inside the Satechi stand-in hub for Mac Mini with SSD enclosure and OWC Mini Stack. That STX installation is simple with everything bar the SSD board just itself included. It's a little fiddly, but nothing to be worried about. If you can use a screwdriver, you can install a SSD board yourself. Note that the original version of the Satechi stand-in hubs enclosure did not support NVMe non-volatile memory express SSDs, while the OWC Mini Stack does. Satechi has now updated the stand/hub to support NVMe as well as N.2 SSD. And NVMe M.2 SSDs are designed to be faster by using a more direct path to a computer's processor over PCIe 0.5. That said, the NVMe slot on the OWC has only one lane of PCIe allocated to it, so the performance is limited to 770 megabytes per second in real-world use. While the Satechi stand hub has caught up with the OWC by supporting NVMe, one remaining advantage of the OWC Mini Stack STX is the second drive bay, which supports 2.5 or 3.5 inch mechanical hard disk drive. These old school hard drives offer far greater storage capacities at a much lower cost than SSDs. 2 terabyte HDDs can cost around $50. 12 terabyte HDD might cost under $200. And what if the Mac Mini, while the Mac Mini has plenty of ports around the back, Apple did not bless the Mac Mini with any ports at the front like the Mac Studio. This means you'll need to reach over to connect a peripheral device, which could be tricky if you've slipped the very hideable computer out of sight and what they can offer. But there are options for adding them. For example, the Satechi stand-in hub adds several front-facing ports. At 10 gigs at 10 points, they aren't as fast as the Mini's back-racked 4-drive Thunderbolt 4 ports, but they're handy for micro thumb drives that you might want to plug in. You also get SD and micro SD card readers, which are super useful for adding inexpensive portable storage.
You can buy a Samsung memory card with 256 gigabytes of storage for under 30 pounds and half a terabyte for around $50.
$579.99 at Amazon. I had $599 at Adorama, $599 at Apple. The OWC Mini Stack STX, on the other hand, mimics the Mac Mini with no ports on its front, but its back has more powerful connectors than the Satechi hub. It boasts four 40 gigabits per second Thunderbolt 4 ports, one upstream to the computer, and three 5 gigabits per second USB-A ports, but lacks card reader slots. Another port adding option is to buy yourself a Thunderbolt 4 hub. Our favorite is the CallDigit Thunderbolt 4 Element hub, which features four 40 gigabits per second Thunderbolt 4 ports, including one side-mounted upstream to the computer, four 10 gigabits per second USB-A ports, and a power supply. We've tested the best Thunderbolt hubs and docks if you want even more ports than that. Granted, they won't be as neat as the Satechi stand or OWC Mini Stack, but there are tons of options out there. And one of the build-to-order options seeking by Apple is to upgrade the Mac Mini's Ethernet from gigabit to 10 gigabit. And once you ask for the RAM and storage, once you've picked your Ethernet speed, there's no way to upgrade the internal connector later, but you can buy adapters quite cheaply. TrendNet has a 5 gig of Ethernet adapter that connects to one Mini's Thunderbolt ports.
OWC sells a 10G Ethernet adapter, although it's actually more expensive than the Apple built-in option.
Note, though, that just having a 10 gigabit Ethernet port on your Mac doesn't automatically 10 times all your networking. There are a few 10 gigabit routers available, and even fewer that don't resemble the rack mount unit from the data center, and they aren't cheap either. If your ISP is offering 2.5 gigabit per second, 5 gigabit per second, or 10 gigabit per second, be prepared to replace your existing network gear to actually use the higher speeds. The Mac Mini does have a built-in speaker, but it's really good enough only for system bings and bongs. Even Zoom calls sound tinny, and music sounds like you're listening to the cheapest portable radio. Apple would prefer you get out your credit card for one of its HomePod speakers via AirPlay, but there are cheaper desktop speakers available that connect via USB or a Bluetooth. And we're fans of the Creative Pebble V3, which can connect using either USB-A or USB-C or Bluetooth. It's likely you'll be wanting a webcam for video calls, either perched on top of your screen or angled on your desk. There are a variety of recommended webcams available for Mac. We have rounded up the best Mac webcams for you. Mac Mini doesn't have its own mic, as Apple presumes that you'll most likely want to use the one on the third-party webcam you use. So if you want a dedicated microphone, you can attach using USB or via an audio interface for the best audio quality. Check out our roundup of the best microphones, and that will be gift for Mac. It may be over the top for many, but my eventual Mac Mini upgrade solution incorporates both the Satechi and OWC hubs. At the bottom sits the OWC Mini Stack with a 3.5-inch 4 terabyte HDD and 1 terabyte NVMe M.2 SSD, plus its 4 fast Thunderbolt 4 ports one needs to connect to the Mac Mini. Above that, with its handy range of front-facing ports, is the Satechi stand and hub for Mac Mini with SSD enclosure. Inside that, I have a 2 terabyte MIL2 SATA SSD. My setup started with the non-NVMe Satechi hub, but I'll upgrade to the NVMe version. I am also asking what non-fly a C. And sitting on top is my M2 Pro 12-inch core CPU and 19-core GPU with 32 gigs of RAM and an internal 1 terabyte Apple SSD. As the Mac Mini ships without a keyboard or mouse, I stuck with Apple's trusty Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse. And the same Mac Mini with 8 terabytes of storage would cost £4,399 to build at Apple. It cost me under £3,000, and I get an extra 9 usable ports, an extra TB4 port, as 2 on the Mac Mini are used to connect the two hubs and 3 USB-A, 1 USB-C, an audio port, an SD, and micro SD card readers front. And as I was replacing my trusty old 27-inch iMac, vintage 2015, and starting to show its age, I needed a decent-sized monitor for my new Mac Mini. I chose the 27-inch Logic Clarity display, which is 4K rather than a 5K Retina, but features a terrific adjustable stand that makes the old iMac look positively static. Kicking up with rocks, and then NVMe M.2 SSD bay, 3.5-inch HDD bay, 4X Thunderbolt 4 ports. Cons, no front ports, no card reader, and they're black only color choice. $2079.99 at OWC, compatible with Mac Mini M2 and M2 Pro, 2023, M1 2020, Mac Mini 2018, Mac Studio 2022, size 7.8 times 7.8 times 1.5 inches, and they don't take them back up to it beyond what's going to do. And then in 115 watt 4X Thunderbolt 4 ports, and just internal SSD enclosures, internal HDD bay. This double drive bay Mac Mini accessory is a decent Thunderbolt 4 having its own right, hence its higher price tag compared to the USB-C set Techie Hub. Its 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports allow you to create 3 independent daisy chains with up to 5 total Thunderbolt devices with a USB device on the end of each period chain. 8 devices. But the real benefit of the Mini Stack STX is its bays that can be pre-configured or self-installed with one 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch hard disk drive and one speedy NVMe SSD. Buy an inexpensive but trustworthy HHD for a time machine backup or secondary storage, and a faster SSD for operational file storage. The Mini Stack STX offers the best of both worlds in terms of storage flexibility, presumables, an SSD bay, front-facing ports, supports SATA SSD, and faster NVMe. Card readers, silver color matches Mini, double C, USB-C, not Thunderbolt, $99.99 at Adorama, $99.99 at Amazon, $99.99 at Best Buy. Compatible with Mac Mini M2 and M2 Pro 2023, Mac Mini M1 2020, Mac Studio 2022, size 7.8 times 7.8 times 0.9 inches. And one period of time, right over time, and you grab 1X USB-C, 10 gig, and 10 gigabits. Now, I don't know, what I talking about it, maybe 2024 to beyond with the gigabits, 3 times USB-A, 10 gigabits per second, SD card reader, UHS-1, 4 megabits per second, a micro SD card reader. According to UHS-1, 104 megabytes suite. And 3.5 millimeter audio jack, internal SSD enclosure. This inexpensive USB-C hub adds much needed ports to the front of your Mac Mini setup. These ports include SD and micro SD card readers, which are lacking from the Mini sanction of SD. You can buy a slightly cheaper version without the SSD enclosure, but we advise spending the extra $20, even if you think you need any extra die storage. Your Mac Mini has a 512 gig internal SSD, then a 1 terabyte or a greater SSD within the hub offers excellent and speedy time machine backup, or just extra space for your files. And so remember that you can't go back and increase the capacity of the Mac Mini's integrated SSD. And the latest version lets you choose between a SATA SSD or more modern NVMe. SSD, either way, it's much faster than a mechanical hard disk drive. The lack of Thunderbolt's not a problem if the 2 or 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back of the Mini are all you require. Also, note out that one of the Mini's Thunderbolt ports will be used to connect the hub. That'll similar to this port. Orientoring port with pros, 4 USB 4 ports, 4 10 gigabits per second USB-A ports, 150 watt total power, compact. Con stuff, sits away from Mac Mini, no extra storage capacity, $199.95 at Amazon, and that's who we're at on that comb. So if you hear those Sunbird size 4.5 times 2.8 times 0.7 inches, when you run a little, 4x Thunderbolt 4 ports, 4x USB-A 10 gigs and 7.5 watts. This super compact Thunderbolt 4 hub differs from the OWC and SATTEC hubs by being a different size and form to the Mac Mini, and so it will sit outside of its footprint on your desk. It offers you 7 fast ports plus the upstream Thunderbolt 4 port that connects to your Mac Mini that will also able charge connected devices. And if your Mac Mini or Mac Studio has enough storage for your needs but not enough ports, step forward the more limited non-Pro N2 Mac Mini. This excellent hub blesses you with multiple top-rated ports. Read the full CalDigit Thunderbolt 4 Element Hub review. That's 27-inch 4K, 60 hertz, excellent adjustable stand, extra ports. It's so well and not 5K like the old 27-inch iMac screen. $648.90 at Amazon. There are all of 24 seconds and 1x USB-C, 1x USB-B, 2x USB-A ports, and DisplayPort 1.4, 2x HDMI 2.0, 3.5 millimeter audio jack. If you want your Mac Mini to replicate the screen glory of the discontinued 27-inch iMac, this same-sized external display is a great option with its superb adjustable stand that it's more flexible than the old static iMac screen. It even has its own integrated hub offering a range of ports to complement the Mac Mini's own. The Clarity's 2 USB-A ports can be used to attach peripherals such as a keyboard, mouse, or webcam to the computer. For the computer to see any attached devices, it must be connected to the computer by either the USB-C or USB-B upstream port. There are now more advanced versions of the Clarity with a Clarity Pro that adds a retractable webcam and a touchscreen version, both available in either 27 or widescreen 32-inch Rode or their Pro's affordable 1080p resolution Good Mac app, $39.40 at Amazon. Kensington's W1050 is one of the most affordable 1080p webcams we've seen so far. It provides a bright, sharp image that is clear and provides a 95-degree viewing angle with fixed focus to ensure that the entire image remains in focus at all times. The adjustable stand can rest on your desk or attached to your computer screen and allows you to tilt and rotate the camera to get the right viewing angle. Twin microphones feature noise canceling to reduce background noise, and there's a privacy shutter on the front of the camera too. The W1050 uses a USB-A interface, which maybe isn't a bad thing as it doesn't use up one of the Mac Mini's precious Thunderbolt ports. And Kensington's Connect app provides additional controls for adjusting brightness, contrast, and other settings. But its most useful feature is the ability to create and save profiles with settings that are suitable for different locations or lighting conditions. Pros, much improved audio on mini speaker, compact, Bluetooth USB-A or USB-C. Cons, what deep bass lovers might be disappointed, $34.99 at Amazon. The Mac Mini's built-in speaker is a feeble affair, which is fine for system alerts, but woeful if you want to fire up Apple Music or stream video, and these dinky 123x120x stereo speakers stick with the Mini's mininess and are available in either white or black. They connect via either USB-C or USB-A with the added option of wireless Bluetooth if you want to pair with your iPhone. Sound quality is remarkable for the size and price. The bass could be stronger, but it's a great improvement for a mini speaker. Apple solders the solid-state drive directly onto the logic board of the Mac Mini when you choose the capacity at the point of purchase. While it is not possible to later upgrade the drive, you can add extra SSDs or hard disk drives via accessories, which we have reviewed here. And Apple builds the RAM directly as part of the M2 processor of the Mac Mini when you choose the amount of memory at the point of purchase. It is not possible to later upgrade the RAM, so you must choose the most you're likely to need when buying the computer.